And welcome back to the Constitutionals Podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Hey, we're in the car for today's episode. I had to, based on, this means nothing to nobody. Based on how this week was going auditorially in my apartment, I will not be able to reshoot anything. So I said, move everything outside. Move everything. No, part of it was also happenstance because I did shoot news time in the car, and I thought, why not do the constitutionals as well? Well, news time is more thematic, and the constitutionals is more because of the auditorial thing. So here we are, back in the car, episode 158, I believe, of the Constitutionals Podcast. I'm not going to look. Who needs to look when you have Christ on your side? I'm sorry. I do feel bad for saying that. I'm watching season 5 of The Amazing Race. The guys over at Never Not Funny would not stop talking about it, about Amazing Race. So I randomly chose a season. Actually, no, I Googled what are the best seasons of The Amazing Race, and I sat down and decided that five was in like the top. People had like top 5 lists. So I said, you know what? Why not just choose one? Why not just choose one that's I've seen over and over again? So 5 is consistently in the top 5. So I started season 5 a couple of weeks ago, and truth be told, I'm only 3 episodes in. I'm basically watching 1 episode a week, right? And the Amazing Race and Survivor, they have like 34 seasons each. 20 some odd seasons, I believe, for Survivor, and 34 or something like that for Amazing Race. Apparently, and I looked this up, and I did spoil the winner for myself, but whatever. But apparently, they shoot one season, like it takes like 3 weeks or so, 3 weeks to 5 weeks, something like that. So about basically a month to shoot an entire episode, which I think is interesting to say the least. So anyway, one of these people have themes. And for these people, some people could be like, I'm a veteran, and my daughter. I'm just trying to prove to my daughter that I can do this, and they do it in pairs, or like we're a married couple and we're just trying to break the funk, or we're a young couple and we're just trying to explore with each other. And there's one couple who who said. This guy, I think his name was, I forgot his name, but the guy goes, we're Christian and we just want to show the followers that we're strong followers of Christ or something like that. And I swear to you, every single time they do, like every other time they have their talking head, they go, the guy mentions, I'm strong with Christ behind us. We can do anything. And it makes me laugh to no end. It is the funniest thing in the world. Because it's needless. It's kind of like the producer said, hey, you're Christian. Well, what does God think of this? What does God think of The Amazing Race? So funny. Other people's faiths and beliefs. Any Hoosers, let's get on with this episode of the Constitutionals. As you can see, my backdrop is the same place, nearly the same place I shot sorry, I just saw somebody walking to their car. Nearly the same place I shot the news time. News time is what the show's called. Little known fact about shooting news time on my phone. That's the second time I've done that in about 4 or 5 weeks. I've shot news time with my phone. I used the phone for the camera for that. I'm using my phone for the camera for this, and a Pixel 2 XL. And oh boy, the camera. While they take great pictures and while the video looks nice, the camera, otherwise, the phone itself is, it's aged. It's about 5 years old at this point. No, 5, because I got it when I graduated from college. Wow. And it's about 5 years old at this point, and it's really showing its age. But the video's never been good on pixels. If Google can do one thing right, it's the software. It's the hardware that does not stand the test of time. Let's get on with this, because I only want to do 30 minutes. So season finales have aired, rush season finales because of this coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic, and you can really see where some shows they had pretty decent finales because they're already close to finales anyway. The Flash ended on a cliffhanger, which they never really do. They usually tie up loose ends. I think they were like 2 episodes away from the finale, and the Flash this past week was, I would say, pretty good. I don't know. I think Legends of Tomorrow ended as well. Batwoman and Supergirl are ending this coming Sunday, and while obviously we know that's not the true finale, and they know it's not the true finale, the editors have done some great work, and I can only assume the producers are helping too. I was gonna say writers, but it doesn't make sense. The editors and the producers truly have done some fantastic work in order to make these rush seasons because of the pandemics, because shows couldn't finish shooting. They make them seem really good. Law and Order SVU, it just kind of ended with a regular episode of SVU. I wrote that down. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. Those are the only shows that I really sat down and watched throughout this year. And then Reno 911 premiered on Quibi. I think it actually premiered a couple weeks ago, and I just did not pay attention. Let's see. Let's pop open Quibi and see where Reno 911. As you can, if you know, my mobile office, instead of having the DSLR with the Yeti mic and the TV as a monitor, when I'm in my mobile office, I've gotten it down. My phone or the GoPro is the camera. The iPad doubles as the laptop and the sound machine. The Zoom doubles as the mic and everything. So Reno 911, as you can see, I watched one episode on Quibi, and it's tough to watch stuff on. Oh God! Oh no! Don't play! Okay, it's tough to watch stuff on Quibi. I believe Apple users, iOS users, are now allowed to, or now have a way to put this on their Apple TVs. Android users have to wait a little bit. But there's going to be 12 episodes. They're about truly under 6 to 7 minutes. But everybody seems to be back, which is nice. I love Reno 911. I was wondering at the end of this, it said, I was wondering if it was, in fact, a Comedy Central production. And at the end, it did say a Comedy Central production. So this is part of the Comedy Central fold. I guess they're producing shows for... And I guess Punk'd is an MTV show, too, and they're just producing it for Quibi. They couldn't find any way. You know, see, this is where Quibi... Earlier, I will go on to Quibi in a second, because I have another story about that. But earlier, and I wonder if you can hear me, because God bless it, these Apple headphones, earphones, are not good. True thing. I found these in college, my junior year. They were sitting in front of a dorm, and it was late at night, I believe. I think I was coming back from either work or something. It had to be work or class. It might have been class because I had late classes. All writing classes are at night for some reason. They're like 4 hours long. I was coming back from class or whatever, or work, and they were just sitting in front of my dorm, and I thought, oh, someone's gonna be looking for these. Oh no, I didn't think that. I just said, oh, free Apple headphones. And I picked them up, and they're good. Still good to this day. So Quibi. So Reno 911's on Quibi, and one of my big issues is I know in 2 years there's a 2-year exclusivity agreement with Quibi for creators and shows, wherein that you're allowed to take after 2 years. The shows will stay on Quibi in their Quibi form, but you're allowed to take the show or the movie that you produce for Quibi and repackage it and send it to somewhere else and put it somewhere else. But it'll still be on Quibi. And that's an interesting thing to really think about, because I can totally see, even though Reno 911 is over, the half-hour show itself is over, I can totally see Comedy Central taking these episodes and putting them, just like they do breakouts for Key and Peele and their other Comedy Central shows, I assume, but I only see the Key and Peele ones. They put it on YouTube, and they put it on their ComedyCentral.com to monetize it. I can definitely see that. Let's see. So continue off of that Quibi notion. Jeffrey Katzenberg sat down with the New York Times to talk about Quibi's rough start. This is from Nicole Sperling. Jeffrey Katzenberg blames pandemic for Quibi's rough start. Downloads of the $1.8 billion short form streaming app meant for phones are paltry. And Katzenberg says he attributes everything to the coronavirus. Now, one thing I wanted to get at was I would hope that just like Apple and just like Disney, I would have hoped that Quibi, instead of being a platform, or maybe along with being a platform, could have just been a producer. Katzenberg could have said, all that stuff that you guys don't want on your channels, give it to me. Allow me to house it, and I'll produce it, and you can still have it, but it'll be interesting to watch on this thing. Like, it's kind of like if I don't know, how I don't know what I'm getting at. I would think that. All right, what am I trying to say? Let me think. It'd be kind of like an exclusivity agreement to air on Quibi originally first, and then instead of 2 years, maybe 6 months, say, hey, Comedy Central, here's Reno 911. But to get the true experience, you watch it on Quibi. I don't know. Anyway, Quibi fell out of the list of the 50 most downloaded free iPhone apps in the United States a week after it went live on April 6th. It is now ranked at 125 behind the game app Knock 'em All and the language learning app Duolingo. So what surprises me about that is that Duolingo is really, really low on the charts. Even with the 90-day free trial, the app has been installed to only 2.9 million customers, according to Sensor Tower, including moi, twice, on Apple and Android. Quibi says the figure is more like 3.5 million. Of those who have the app installed, 1.3 million are active users. Katzenberg expressed disappointment with those numbers. Is it the avalanche of people that we wanted and were going for out of launch? The answer is no. It's not what we wanted. It's not close to what we wanted. It's not what we wanted. It's not close to what we wanted. If we knew March, and this is a really good quote. If we knew on March 1st If we knew on March 1st, which is when we had to make the call, what we know today, you wouldn't say that that's not a good idea. The answer is it's regrettable, but we are making enough gold out of hay here that I don't regret it. Are they really? I don't know about that. I don't really see them making a lot of money. He also says later on in the piece that the daily essentials aren't that essential because not a lot of people are clicking on them. And the daily essentials are basically shows from NBC, BBC, Telemundo, and ESPN. And he says the daily essentials are not that essential. And no one wants news programming, especially at a time like this. And then, of course, they have Echo, EKO, which is a company that is accusing Quibi of stealing their tech. It looks like Jesus is descending from heaven because there's a bright light next to me. But it's actually the sun, and it's being overexposed in the camera's shot. And the sun's not even out. It's just the clouds and the clear sky. Quibi, it's a very curious thing to see, because obviously they could have held off, but they had all this stuff. So why would they? So it's a catch-22. They had to release because they had planned on it, but they didn't plan on this pandemic. So should they have released? Because now they're failing. What happens? Okay, so say the states are slowly opening up. Say June, July, things are returning, to 70% normal. But then this fabled second wave of the coronavirus hits. What? And people are using Quibi, and it's not making gangbusters, but people are using Quibi and enjoying it. But what happens when September rolls around and the second wave hits, and nobody knows what to do? And then also Quibi had given away customers' email addresses without their knowledge, and then obviously they fixed it from that point. So it's just been hampered with stuff, with bad press. Until recently, Quibi promoted its service as a whole rather than marketing any particular show. That strategy has started to change. On a recent installment of The Last Dance, the ESPN documentary series about the 97-98 Chicago Bulls, Quibi ran a commercial for Blackballed, a docu-series about the National Basketball Association's banning of the Los Angeles Clippers owned owner Donald Sterling. Is that true? I do. I don't remember that commercial because I do watch The Last Dance live, except for this past week when I went to sleep at 10 o'clock. On the season finale of Saturday Night Live this past weekend, it advertised its reboot of the Comedy Central show Reno 911, and that is true because that is the exact moment when I said, "Oh, Reno 911," and I went to Quibi and I saw it. um, oh boy, Quibi is Quibi is Quibi is a curious thing. I don't understand. I want it to survive. Like there are people on there are shows on there that I just think couldn't exist anywhere else, and I'm glad they have the chance to exist here. But Quibi, like Apple, and like Disney, and I stand by this, like Disney Plus, that should have just been a producing thing. Uh, Apple has the capital to start a production unit and a brand name and just say, here here's a show on Hulu, here's a show on Amazon, here's a show on whatever. I understand, I get the fact that they want the most money, uh, but it is also it's weird because it's walled off. It's a walled off garden. What Apple TV is compared to the other three. Apple TV is only available on Apple devices. You can watch on a PC using Firefox, Chrome, Safari, but who wants to do that? I can't even. I at work. I shouldn't mention this, but at work I have a Mac trash can. Obviously, I can watch Apple TV there. I believe. I don't know. I have never tried, but I have Firefox on there as my main internet browser, and trying to watch the Beastie Boys documentary, which is I enjoy. I'm about halfway through because again, I can't watch this on the TV. But trying to watch the Beastie Boys documentary hurts. Simultaneously, I Googled last weekend how to watch Apple TV without Apple TV on an Android device, and I have this Pixel that we're using right now, and you can Chromecast, you can throw stuff through the Chromecast, you can share your screen, you can throw music there, or you can just share your screen. And so I shared my screen to my Google Home Hub that's on my nightstand, and it worked. And I was playing the Beastie Boys documentary, and it worked. I played it for a few seconds. I said, "Great." I don't want to do that to the TV because I think my phone's going to explode because it's so old, and using share screen is just going to drain the battery, then make it explode. Anyway, Hoosers, that's my piece on Quibi, and I just think that it should have been a producer. It should have just been a producer and said, this is a unique way of watching things, and also it can live somewhere else sooner rather than later. Same thing for Apple. If Apple produced a show, and then you get so popular, like look at J.J. Abrams, you get so popular, your production house gets so popular, you make a deal with Hulu, with Amazon, with Netflix, whomever, with Crackle even. With Crackle, and you could say the morning show is exclusively You can say the morning show is exclusively on Amazon, or have a 3-year deal and split the money rather than put yourself off. Anyway, I should move on. Speaking of, you know what, I should have mentioned this earlier. Speaking of nothing, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt versus the Reverend is out. I realized I held this up directly in my face and was blocking it, and the iPad was anyway. I guess the epilogue to the Kimmy Schmidt show is on Netflix. There's a show called Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt created by Robert Carlock and Tina Fey, 30 Rock fame, and they ended the show on Netflix, but they also got a chance, which I think everybody should get a chance to, is to follow the series with a movie. And instead of just a regular movie, it's an interactive movie. just like the Puss in Boots interactive thing they've had. I think Captain Underpants. A lot of DreamWorks stuff, but more importantly, Bandersnatch popularized this whole thing. But it was done before with DreamWorks cartoon stuff, and so now, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt has this movie out, and don't go in there thinking it's a movie. Think of it as 2 episodes. It took me about an hour to finish. I only paused it once to do something. What was I doing? Why did I pause it? Oh, I stopped it to eat. So I I paused it. I paused it once, and then I came back. So it only took me about 50 minutes or so. But there are multiple endings. There are multiple Easter eggs. It was a very fun experience. I played a third of Bandersnatch, and I was so bored. I don't even think I'm in where the story takes off yet. I think the guy has sold his game to this company. I know I died once. But anyway, everybody's back. Almost everybody. Yeah, I'd say about 99% of people were back. Turbo Vote just emailed me. That's about all the messages I get these days. Not even my friends text me. It's true. And there are multiple endings to this Kimmy Schmidt thing. I'm looking on Mashable right now, and anyway. I don't want to say anything, but there are a couple of endings you can get, and then you can fail multiple ways. You do get redos because this is Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and it's just supposed to be a nice fun time. There's a giant pop-out ad just sitting over this article that I cannot get rid of. There's no X. There's no anything. It's just an annoying ad. And this is why I don't do things. Support these websites. Very fun. Daniel Radcliffe's in it as well. I urge you to check it out and explore your options. I think I'm going to replay it this weekend. I wanted to replay it. Actually, no, I did start. I got about 2 minutes into a second replay, and then I realized, what am I doing? I just finished it. Anyway, all right. And then the final thing I want to talk about is Hamilton moves to Disney Plus, leaving movie theaters in a lurch. This comes from Variety, written by Rebecca Rubin. This is... Oh, you know what? Let me go back to that last article to tell you who that was written by. The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I just linked to the endings. This is written by Alexis Ned. I thought the Zoom turned off because I heard a clipping noise, but apparently it was just from the iPad. And it scared me. I looked in the reflection of my windshield, and I saw the red lights still going. Yeah, you can hear that. Can't you hear that, baby? I wonder how this sounds, because I don't have a microphone, except for the... whatever, the capsule I have on top of the Zoom. Anywhoosers. So, we knew that Hamilton, years and years ago, when it first hit Broadway, I believe in that first winter that it was up, they shot a couple of their performances with the original cast. And then it was in the news. I remember this being a story for people who follow the Broadway. And I remember that being a very big deal, and then suddenly we didn't hear about it. And you know what do people usually shoot those things for? They usually shoot it for an expensive Blu-ray collection after the show is on. It runs for a couple of years. But then we got wind that maybe like 2 weeks ago that the show was not 2 weeks ago, 2 months, 2 or 3 months ago. No, guys, come on. I'm shooting a podcast. I can hear your heart. We got word that a couple of months ago that they partnered up with Disney Plus with Disney to air the show in theaters, to release like a regular movie, and then to put it on Disney Plus a year later. Then we learned this week that the movie was supposed to come out in theaters the next year in 2021. But then we got word that the movie was going to be coming out. There's a gnat in my car. Oh God, you see that? It just flew. It flew by. Look how it flew by. It's right there. That it was. Get out of here. Get out of here. Oh my God. Anyway, then we got word that it was going to be released a year and a half early on Disney Plus's streaming service. The same thing happened to Onward, and it happened to a bunch of other movies that are coming out on streaming services this year. And this is a time. This is very important because this is a time in which movie theaters are suffering because of the shutdowns and everything and the pandemic, and releasing it a year and a half early may seem like a boon for Disney and for those involved, um, but it's only going to hurt theaters in the long run, especially Disney supports theaters. Uh, so movies like Black Widow and Mulan, they're being held back. They're already finished. They're being held back, and they'll be released correspondingly at some point. They'll be released at some point. But as it stands, this whole Hamilton thing, I think them releasing it now, I'm not defending them because I do think it's a bad decision. But I think them releasing it in July this year, a year and a half before it's supposed to be released. Because I think the original release is October 2021. Is them, not having faith that the biggest musical of the past 10 years can make $1 billion at the box office. I think this is them, and I don't want to say saving face, but it's them just trying to recoup future losses, which I can only assume. And people, I mean, if Broadway is shut down until September, we got that in the wire a couple of days ago. Broadway shut down until September. Then, oh, this guy just sped by in his old Mercedes. Then this is a chance for people to who love the music of Hamilton, have never seen Hamilton, experience Hamilton, and B, to have the theater experience Hamilton for the first time, but then B, also have a theater experience, and by theater I mean of the British variety, the playway, but have a theater experience. This is for everybody to have theater experience when they just can't, when it's impossible. So this is an interesting move. And he just drives by again. Where is he going? uh, but Disney paid $75 million for this movie. So keep in mind, I should not touch my face. This is the pinky I use to open doors. That's not a joke. I gotta stop touching my face. But the reason why they sold it to Disney was because Disney is one of the largest distributors and it should be released in theaters. But $75 million, oof. Fallout, continuing on, I want to sing. Okay, so yeah, then it just talks about, I have not read this piece and I'm scanning it right now. And truly everything I have said was said in this. And then we have In the Heights supposed to be coming out this year, and West Side Story, I believe. Oh my gosh. That would have been so nice to see. Anyway, I hope this can bring to light the discrepancy. You know what? This is like I'm saying on a soapbox, but the people who saw Hamilton are not its target audience. You can say that they're the target audience. They're not. The target audience is, I believe, what I believe to be people of color and fans of history and fans of like hip hop. So if you don't fall into that category, any of those categories, then I just don't think, you just watched Hamilton because you had the money to. I hear about, you see the crowds. One of my issues with Hamilton was that I really wished that I could hear more about schools, middle schools, elementary schools, high schools in the New York area or in the wherever the show was touring, if they would have gotten free matinee shows with the touring company, with the repertory company, with whatever. Even with the alternates on the understudies, that'd have been great. We didn't hear about it. Maybe it did happen, and they're just being coy. But that show is the biggest show in the world, so we would have heard about it. And I think the only people who saw it were rich people of color and rich white people, and even just regular old white people who had funds to go see it. I mean, it's just, anyway, off the soapbox. Listen, if you like what you heard here, and I don't know why you did, head on over to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where we've got interviews with your favorite comedians, people you didn't even know about, but mostly people you did know about. You can follow us on Twitter and Insta. Oh, hold on. If you want to see a video version of this show, head on over to youtube.com/cpluscomedy to see me sitting in my car in the front seat with the sun shining right next to my left shoulder, right over my left shoulder. See what I wore to work today. I'm not going to tell you the audio, listeners. You got to go see it. youtube.com/cpluscomedy. Or you might be watching the Instagram breakout. It's fun. Also on youtube.com/cpluscomedy is our premiere show, News Time, which is a show that's like the Daily Show. I sit down and take one subject and I hash it out. There's a script. Sometimes it's funny. This week's episode is about cable and ad spending in the pandemic, and how they might be falling. Speaking of falling, my phone is 32 minutes of HD video. That's a lot. You want to see? Listen. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at @CPlusComedy. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ChadBlackWhite. Like us on Facebook. Rate, review, and subscribe. The Constitutionalist Podcast, literally wherever you get your podcasts. I just put it up on every other service. So we got Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Radio Public, TuneIn, some other ones. I think like 2 other ones. So literally, wherever you get your podcasts, check it out. All right. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you. You're the best. Goodbye.